welcome back. I have already put a very light crumb coat on our cake. It is not torted. And the reason for that is because number one, I don't want it too high. But number two, we are gonna load the frosting on this when we do the rosette design. And I wanna make sure that there's a really good ratio of cake to frosting. And had we torted it and done just a regular coat of frosting, it would have been perfect. But if we tort it and we've got a 1/4 inch of frosting in between each layer and then the big rosettes on the outside, it's just gonna be way too much frosting. So it's got a very sloppy, very light crumb coat on it because it's getting completely covered in rosettes. It does not need to have any more frosting than that. One thing I am going to do, it's gonna be fun, is I put it on its plate already. And I'm going to decorate it up here. And the reason for that is because number one, it's a better level for me to get the rosettes piped. But number two, then I don't have to worry about messing up my rosettes when I move it. It's where I want it to be, it can stay there and it'll be perfect. So I'm gonna move this out of the way and we're gonna talk a little bit about how we're gonna do the rosettes. First thing is I have got it is a 1B Wilton tip. It's a closed star. So it's not the open that's all jagged around the edges. This is a closed star and it's a big one. I'm using one of my bigger piping bags. It's an 18-inch bag. So what we do, the method that we use for this is called double bagging. And what that means is we prepare our icing in a bag like this. We'll snip the tip, we'll slide it in here, we'll pipe what we can, and then when we need to refill, we can pull this out, put the new bag in. It is much quicker, much easier, and much less messy than had we piped everything in here, and then we have to clean the bag out in between. We don't want to have to do that. It's great when you want to switch out colors. It's great if you want to be able to quickly switch a color from one tip to another. You just have all your bags with your tips on them, and then you just use these bags and slide them in. Works really nice. I've already prepared 3. And I'm going to show you how I did it so that you can do it yourself if you want to. I use this giant vase and I grabbed one of my big bags here. And I can't stress enough, when you're dealing with multi-colors like this, you don't have a lot of control about how they are going to look on the finished product. You can plan, right? So the way that I've done it is I've put the regular white frosting in the middle and then pink on one side and yellow on one side. But as you go and as the frosting moves through the bag, it's gonna change. It's gonna change direction. So you just want to keep that in mind. This is supposed to be an effect that is just, it looks random. So if that makes you uncomfortable, stick with one color. Maybe throw some little brush strokes or something on there, or do something else to make it, pop a little bit. But don't try and mess with multicolors if you're the kind of person who needs to be sure that everything is exact. So what I did is I put my piping bag in here and I opened it all the way down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my icing, I'm going to go all the way down in there and I'm going to lay some white down. Just a little bit in the middle. And then I am going to lay some pink down on the left side of it. Just a little. It gets easier the higher up you go. It's easier to see. At the bottom, at the very end, you kind of need to go on faith, right? You just put your color in. But if you look inside, you can see, I don't know if, can you see inside?
Now tip it some more. There you go. Yep.
So Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lay down some, and now that it's a little, the bag is a little wider, the three colors are a little more obvious. So let me go ahead and do this. And do this. And I'll do one more. And then I'll show you, because you'll be able to see so much better. And it just makes this a lot easier. I have tried several different ways over the last 2 weeks to make the tricolor thing happen easily for me. And this right here is the easiest way to do it. Also, you don't want to fill the bags too tight. Too full. And the reason for that is they need to be comfortable in your hand. You can't pipe if the bag's not comfortable in your hand. And this is about the biggest size bag I want to have in my hand. If I was piping like a border, or if I was piping a flower, I would want far less than this. But to pipe these big rosettes, first of all, you don't want to have to change your bag out every 5 seconds. So you want a little bit more in there. But it is just there. So you lift it up, pull it up, and then just mush it down. Twist it closed. And you can see pink and yellow and white. And Anastasia told me that was in the white. So now we're gonna try it without me explaining, so that we can see how fast it goes when I'm not taking my time, so that I can teach someone else how to do it. There we go. So this will be our 5th bag, and hopefully this will be enough. It is a lot. If you want to do something like this with a cake, you definitely want to have more than one batch of icing. I would recommend, honestly, 2. Double the recipe, because you're going to use up a lot of icing as you are piping those rosettes. So I'm going to get rid of some of this here, and we will go ahead and start. Let's get some of this icing off of the counter. Let's got our bag. Let's pull our cake over. I'm gonna try and do this so that you can see me. But a rosette is just a circle. So let's pull this off. Let's get our scissors, which are covered in frosting, yay. And we'll take this bag that we just filled and just snip that off. Bring it until the frosting is almost down. And then you just slide it in this bag, like so. Oh, look. There. So now, what we do is you want to hold the bag with your hand while you're squeezing. So you touch it. And you go around. And you do that all the way around the cake for your first row. This is a little harder to do because of the lip on this cake pedestal. But you can see we're getting the tricolor flower. The next row up will be a little easier to pipe. You want to kind of hold your bag. Try and remember, if you can, which direction you're holding the pink and which direction you're holding the yellow. Try and keep your rosettes the same size. Not always easy to do, I know. Believe me, I know. And this little pedestal is quite a pain in the butt. So I would recommend having no lip on your pedestal. I've got a lip on this one, and that's my own fault. I thought it was very pretty. I love the jadeite. I think it's very springy. I think it looks beautiful with the colors we've got here. But it does have its downside. We may end up having a whole lot of frosting here, friends. If there's one that you don't like, scrape it off. You can scrape it off. That's one of the great things about buttercream, is it's very forgiving. See, now I've got some over here that are a little bigger than I particularly like. These seem to be a little lower. So I might actually just go ahead and scrape those 3 off. There's 3 there that are pretty high. So I think that I'm going to go from here. There. And here. And this one's a little high. And then that one kind of got ugly. So we're just gonna, there. You don't wanna impact the one right next to it. And then you don't have to do too much, just, you know, clean it up a little bit like that. Nobody's gonna see it. So it works out good. I do probably have way more frosting than I need, but that's good. I'd rather have too much than not enough.
Absolutely.
And I get to play with some other tips later. So, so clean this off too. I dropped my paper towels on the floor. That's another thing that you might want to do is every once in a while take a look at the tip, make sure it's nice and clean. And then here, smaller, right? Smaller. I started getting excited and getting a little too. And that one is ugly. So we'll take the ugly one and get it off of there. Boom. If you have frosting lovers in your house, there's going to be plenty. We will clean up the edge of this a little bit better later on. So small. Uh-oh. So we're starting to get a little bit towards the end of this bag. Maybe get one more rosette out of this. Once it starts popping like that and the bag starts burping, go ahead and consider switching out and getting a fresh bag, because you don't want a bunch of air bubbles in there. So I think that's better. It's a little more even.
Mm-hmm.
So all we have to do now is pull this bag out. Look how clean that bag is. Yay! Get another bag. Cut another hole. Slide it in. And then I always get it started. So that one had a lot. There we go. That one had a lot of the white frosting at the bottom. So, oh my gosh, that's hideous. So my pink goes on this side. And I'm going to start in between 2. I'm going to do the same thing all the way around. What I'm trying to do is get 3 up, and then we cover the top. So And if I need to, one of the nice things is that I can go ahead and use a new bag for the next row. See, I'm getting all clogged up there at the top again, so we're just going to do this. Remember, the pink is on the side. And you want to touch that. See, that one's going to have to come off. You need to touch your tip to the cake so that that flower stays on the cake. That one just came right off. It was not attached. I did not touch my tip to the cake, and it did ugly things. So here we go. Kind of poke the cake with it. Kind of poke the cake with it and then go around. Poke the cake, go around. Clean that tip. Okay, now we have 2 rows.
Really?
We're going to do the last row, and then we'll do them on the top. And again, just go in between 2. But try and make sure you're touching that tip. Now, you don't have to go in between 2. I prefer to do it that way. You could just go straight up and down, one on top of the other. I just prefer the staggered. And as you get used to it and your hand gets used to the motion, you will be able to do them much faster and still keep them nice and neat. You want to try and have them as consistent as possible. It's not going to be perfect, but it's so visually stunning that it doesn't have to be perfect. There's a lot to look at here. So there's that. Now we're going to do the ones on the top. And basically, all we're going to do there, I'm going to grab this one now. See how much easier this is than if we had to refill this bag this many times. It takes a little setup and a little prep, but it is like every bit worth it. There. And I just blob that out until I see the pink and the yellow. The second I see the pink and the yellow, I stop. So here's what we do on the top. And actually, it would be best if when you create your top row that you go over the top a little bit, if your buttercream will support that. Your buttercream needs to be stiff to be able to stand that way. But that way you don't have a bunch of cake showing at the top. Now, one thing that we can do, and I might do before I take the photos for this post, is you can always take a tiny little bit of green and pop a few leaves in there if you feel that there are bare spots. But you certainly don't have to. Again, the cake is so busy that if there's one tiny little spot where you can see through the cake, nobody's going to see it. They really aren't. This is just a great, big, beautiful cake full of rosettes. So then we just do them in the top here, just like we did on the side. Try and keep them the same size again. And then, I want to get the last of this because I only really have the one rosette left in the middle. And then the big rosette in the middle. And there you go. That didn't take long at all.
No.
So that is our pink lemonade cake with a touch of raspberry in the frosting. I will post the modification to the Swiss meringue buttercream so that you can get that little hint of raspberry in the icing. But here it is. I think it turned out pretty good.
Beautiful.